What's good, everybody? Time for a DL short. So I just want to get an update to you guys about the Delta crash. We had the Airbus 350, which hit regional jet, both operated by Delta. Well, both Delta planes, and the tail of the regional jet was knocked off. You guys have seen this. I've talked about this. This has been all over the news, of course. So there's a video out there. Apparently, someone had their trusty cell phone out, and they were able to get footage of this crash. So this is from the Today Show. I first saw this yesterday. I didn't get a chance to do this update yesterday. So I'm doing it now. But they're going to show footage of this accident. So let's check this out.
Two planes collided on the taxiway at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport yesterday, and it severely damaged one of those planes. And as you might imagine, it also rattled passengers. NBC's Tom Costello is in Atlanta with some new details on what exactly went wrong. Tom, what do we know?
You know, Craig, we've talked a lot in recent years about close calls on runways, right? Planes get way too close to each other. They call it a narrow miss or near miss at times. Those are runway incursions. That's not what happened here. This was on a taxiway, two planes moving very slowly. Somebody miscalculated, either in the tower or in the cockpit, but that miscalculation caused absolutely catastrophic damage. At the nation's busiest airport, a slow speed but high impact accident and a lot of damage. It happened.
And did you guys see that? Like right there, you can see the impacts. You see the tail coming off of the RJ. The big airplane, again, that is a Airbus 350. Not the biggest airplane that Airbus makes, but that's a big airplane. So you're looking at this situation right here. You see there's Southwest in the foreground. You got the CRJ sitting there waiting to depart off the runway there. That's runway 8, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have this Airbus 350 on that taxiway. I forget the taxiway. I think it's Echo. They're on taxiway Echo, and they're taxiing out for departure. They're going to Japan. And there's a ton of other airplanes moving around. This is a, typical busy morning at Atlanta, just normal traffic flow. Airplanes are everywhere. Atlanta's a very busy airport, but they can handle the volume really well because the airport is designed very, very nicely for a high volume. It's like if you're going to work a tower, you want to work there. When you're talking about volume, it just works really well. So we had the transmissions from the ground controller, and the conversation between the ground controller and the crew of the Airbus 350. You see how big that airplane is. Again, that's not the biggest Airbus they make. The Airbus 380 is the biggest aircraft that they make, and that designator is super. So like when you listen to the transmissions, the ground control was calling the Airbus 350 heavy. And you recall, I was even questioning that. I'm like, well, wouldn't that be a super? And I did a little research because I've been out of the business. I haven't been an air traffic controller for over 4 years. I'm retired. Things change in the air traffic control world daily, literally daily. Things will go from one, like A will become B, and then B will become A again. You can see changes like that within a week or within a month. Like they'll be doing one procedure, change it, and then go back to the original procedure or go to something different. That's how it works. So I wasn't familiar with the A350. That aircraft, I never worked it. It was probably not online when I was working in Miami. It wasn't online. Of course, it's too big to get into Van Nuys on a normal, regular thing. We'll have to shut the airport down to move that thing around. So that's a big airplane. And the only other aircraft in the system that's considered a heavy is the Antonov 225. And that's a really big airplane. If you guys want to see a big airplane, look up that Antonov AN 225. Look at that. Look at those pictures. Crazy big airplane. So right away, I'm thinking, well, if this A350 is just a heavy, it's like all the other heavies out there, there's probably not any special procedure in dealing with it. So why is that important? Well, if the ground controller or if air traffic control isn't briefed on a particular airplane, or if there is no procedure in place for moving certain airplanes around, there are no restrictions, then they're just going to move airplanes around like they normally do. Then it becomes technique of the controller, the individual controller, as to how they handle their business. So if there is no procedure for additional restrictions for this type airplane, then the controller may not be held responsible for this accident. In fact, the person who may be held responsible is the crew of the Airbus and or the airport authority, the airport operators, because we can clearly see that the airplane is taxiing on the center line, which is where the pilot's supposed to put their nose wheel. That's the line that depicts the place that the airport operators want the center of that airplane moving. Clearly, he appears to be on the center line. Clearly, that regional jet seems to be in the way. And the wingspan of the A350 is about 212 feet and a few inches. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like 212 feet and 6 inches or something like that. So the crew knows that. Your most experienced crews will be flying these bigger airplanes. So the question becomes, why didn't you stop? Why didn't you question? Why did you just keep taxiing? And now it makes sense. The other video when the pilot was immediately keys up and says, hey, we think we hit something. And then he keys up again and says, yep, we were following your instructions. We were on the center line, on Echo, holding short of Victor. And that's why he threw that in there. This might fall on the crew and this might fall on the airport authority, because this may become a wingspan issue. Not may, it will be. They're going to be looking at the wingspan. They're going to be looking at the taxiway length. They're going to be looking at the whole line and the position of the RJ, the CRJ that got hit. All these things are going to come into play. Now, initially I was saying, man, this looks like it's going to be 100% FAA. These sort of things aren't supposed to happen. Now, the FAA won't get off scot-free. The NTSB and the FAA higher ups are going to want to know why the ground controller wasn't looking. They're going to want to know why the ground control didn't think about it. And the answer to that is going to be, we weren't given any restrictions. We weren't told that there was any change to the operation. We weren't told that the Airbus 350 was going to have some sort of significant impact on the way we taxi aircraft around this airport. This was the normal ComWin configuration, runway 8. They depart to the east. Is their Conway runway there in Atlanta. This is how we move our airplanes. And the Airbus 350 is a big airplane, but the Boeing 777, there's a new Boeing 777 is out there that's even bigger than this Airbus 350. So, and the wingspan on that Boeing, I would imagine, is probably a little, maybe comparable to the Airbus, probably a little bit longer, about maybe a few feet longer. We could look that up and find out, but this is how air traffic goes. When there's a problem, they send teams of people in there to identify the problem, to figure out what went wrong, and then they'll go and make recommendations so they can create procedures to keep it from happening again. When I first saw this, and again, I don't have all the information handy. I'm really going to look forward to seeing the final results of this, but the air traffic controller is not going to be held accountable if there is no procedure to address the wingspan issue of this particular aircraft. Now, if that exists, if there is a procedure, if let's say that this Airbus 350 is on a list of aircraft with wingspan that can impact that taxiway in that intersection, well, then, yeah, it'll be 100% that controller. They might try to put a little bit back on the pilot, but it'll be 100% that controller. They will ask the pilot, they will ask the crew, why didn't you guys slow down? Why didn't you guys ask for help? Why didn't you guys question the positioning of the CRJ? They're definitely going to ask that. Who knows what the pilots are going to say? They will listen to the cockpit voice recorders to hear if the two pilots up front even talked about it. Maybe one of the pilots were like, maybe the first officer was telling the captain, I think that's too close. And the captain was like, nah, we're fine. They wouldn't give us this instruction if they didn't check the wingspan. You never know. That there may have been a conversation in the front of the plane where one pilot was like, they look too close. And the other pilot was like, nah, don't worry about it. in the words of the critical drinker, nah, it'll be fine. That might have happened. And if it did, they're going to listen to that. They're going to hear it. Same thing in the tower. Now, there's no recording, so you can hear what's going on between the controllers when they're not speaking on the microphones, when they're not keyed up talking to airplanes. But they're going to, air traffic controllers are really good about putting in the reports what happened. So if there was an air traffic controller up there questioning the technique of the ground controllers, like, hey, you need to look out for that Airbus's wingspan is such and such and such and such, that might be a problem. If that happened, that controller is going to write it down and put it in their report and send it forward. And then the ground controller who was actually working the airplanes are going to have to explain why they didn't listen to the other controller. Again, this is all speculation. I have no idea how this is going to play out. Luckily, no one got hurt. CRJ was destroyed. Someone's going to have to pay for that. And there was quite a bit of damage done to the Airbus 350 on its wing. So, I just wanted to give you guys an update on that. We'll see how this plays out. Once the heavies came online, the Airbus 380, and then Boeing had a 747. There was like this massive 747. I forget which one it was, but when that came out initially, that was considered a heavy. That was considered a super. And there's video out there of these Airbuses, these supers moving around airports, just tangling up with other airplanes, like clipping them, spinning them around. Tons of video on that. That happened back in like the early to mid 2000s when these airplanes first came on board. You got to understand, like, these engineers are making these big, big airplanes, and the airports are not large enough to accommodate the size of these new airplanes that are coming out. So every time these, engineers make a bigger airplane, the airports have to figure out how they're going to get that airplane to move around the airport without impacting other things, which makes the air traffic controller's job harder, but that's what they get paid for. Air traffic controllers just have to make it work. So, so there you have it. That collision is on film, so we can watch it one more time, guys.
Impact accident and a lot of damage had happened between Delta Flight 295 and Endeavor Airways Flight 5526,
took that wing
Delta
right off.
regional jet. The impact from the larger plane literally sheared the tail clear off the smaller aircraft, though the crew wasn't sure what happened.
And then this video goes into talking to people who were on the plane and, talking to, listening to radio transmissions, which we've already heard. So I'll link this video in the description below if you want to watch this video. It is what it is, but that very first part is what I want you guys to see. That airplane getting hit was something, man. Just watch that one more time. Like, just watching that airplane getting hit was just crazy.
At the nation's busiest airport, a slow speed but high impact
just took that tail right off.
A lot of damage.
It took that tail right off. So I just wanted to show you guys that. I'll link this video in the description below. We're definitely going to keep our eyes on this one. I'm seeing the feedback. I appreciate the comments. A lot of you guys are saying you like it when we do these reviews on air traffic. I'll keep doing the videos, guys. I'll keep doing the videos if you keep watching them. It is what it is. I'll give my my opinion on these things. I'm definitely going to have to brush up on what's going on. I haven't been thinking about air traffic control at all since I retired in 2020. I haven't thought about it at all, guys. I'm serious. I couldn't even remember basic speed restrictions. I think on one of the videos, I was like confused. Like, was it 170? Was it 210? Well, the speed restriction I was thinking about was 250 knots. So if we do these videos, I promise you, I'll get the books out and I'll brush up on my ATC stuff and make sure I have the knowledge and the information needed to give you guys the best that I can. And yeah, I'll just give my insight and we'll kind of go from there. So I'll keep making these videos. If you guys like them, please hit the like button, comment. And if you see anything, any videos out there that you want me to comment on, just send them to me and we'll comment on those as well. We'll look at it. I'll give you my 2 cents and we'll kind of go from there. And we'll just keep it real basic, guys. I won't get too crazy with it, but we'll keep it to where everyone can understand what's going on. I won't go too crazy with get us in the weeds and all that kind of stuff. But so yeah, that's it. That's the update. The air traffic controller may not be 100% at fault on this one. The crew is definitely going to have to answer for why they continued and didn't give pause. They know how long their wingspan is. They know exactly what their wingspan is on that aircraft. And we're going to have to figure out what's up with that. And then the airport operators might be held responsible for this, for not checking to ensure that the wingspan of 212 feet, which is the wingspan of that A350, doesn't impede on any other parts of the active taxiways and or runways. So we'll see how this pans out, and we'll even see what new procedure comes of it. The procedure will be out probably soon. I'm pretty sure they'll be working on a procedure right away. The FAA doesn't want to have to deal with something like this again, so they're already working on at least a temporary fix until all the information comes in. They probably put a list of airplanes with wingspans over 200 feet, and they're just telling like no airplane with a wingspan over 200 feet can be on this taxiway in proximity of runway 8 right in these intersections or whatever. You'll see. We shall see. So appreciate you guys for rocking out with me. I'll be back tonight, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I Really Want to Know podcast. We're going to be reacting to probably a video from Melanie King. You guys are going to like this. It's just going to show you what crazy people look like when they don't get their way. So I'll see you guys then. I'm DL Saint. Peace.